morning. I am Marley Myberg and I am here with Johan Burger from PayProp this morning. Johan, such a privilege to have you here with us. It's always nice when you visit us and to just talk to you about everything that's going on in the rental market. So we've been with PayProp for several years. We've really experienced fabulous service over the years, and Johan is here today to just especially talk to us about certain important points for landlords and tenants and why it is so important to use an agency that uses reputable companies and service providers when it comes to their systems and everything, their day-to-day management of the property. Johan, can you tell us a bit more about what PayProp does, who you are, just so that the public also knows how you fit in with our day-to-day business?
Thanks, Marley. We really appreciate the invite, and it's always great visiting George. It's such a beautiful town. I've been with PayProp personally. Let's start there. I think that's important. Yes. I've been with PayProp close to 10 years. Absolutely love what I do. PayProp is a global company, and we process over R1 billion a month in landlord and tenant money. It started very, very humble in the, I want to say small town, but it's not anymore, Stellenbosch. Two brothers with a charitable background. If you go dig a bit deeper, you'll understand our foundation is really, really rooted in a great kind of way that the brothers had in mind. For me personally, I head up the client success team for South Africa, and I have the absolute privilege of sitting with beautiful, wonderful clients across the country and just understanding your business and how PayProp connects to that and flows into your daily lives, and also to the landlords and tenants we'll speak to today.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much, Johan. I think it's so important for the clients to understand that their money is safe for the landlord. They want to ensure that they receive their rental payments from the agency on a timely basis, correctly, ethically, and for a tenant, of course, ensuring that their deposit is safe, they are earning interest on their deposits. So I think today it's really for us important to just, as I said, touch on, for me, it's close to heart as to an agency should use reputable companies in their day-to-day businesses. We want to ensure that the clients have a safety net, that they have a sense of security when dealing with an agency. And unfortunately, out there in estate agents' businesses, we sometimes get stories and we deal with agencies that does not act ethically. Deposits are sometimes utilized, I would say, unethically.
Sure.
And so I think that's the main reason for the discussion. So at the end of the day, if a tenant uses, or we use the PayProp system, and a tenant wants to access their statements, their invoices, how can they do that? Can they? We are living in a technological world, so I think that's one of the most important things. So if you can just maybe give us some insights, how can a tenant access those information on the PayProp system?
Very, very good question. And I think that's one of the questions that should be asked by tenants and landlords, specifically tenants, is, I mean, the Rental Housing Act makes way for my deposit needs to be invested in a savings account environment, or a interest rate minimum to a savings account. Yes. Now, for those that do not know, so a lot of agencies and PayProp alike, we need to tick a lot of boxes with the PPRA, a lot of legislation, which we do, because we are registered as an estate agency as well, because it's a partnership with clients like Marley and Steve. So in order for us to tick these boxes, there's a lot of safety nets, as you've mentioned, procedures in place. Behind the system, I think a lot of people just see a system. There is the human element. A large team. I'm talking risk managers, I'm talking chartered accountants that look after this system, that in essence looks after you, and that filters down to the tenant. So your question being is, tenants that are renting from you, and gladly you're on PayProp,
yes,
will have access to what we call a tenant portal. On this portal, there is a nice view of your deposit, the interest and all of this, your invoices, and also methods to pay. But besides that, the automated invoices and statements that go out from PayProp will also show all of this relevant information for them. Now, how this is connected to the flow of transaction is even more important. You summed it up very beautifully of saying that some estate agencies are, it's a bit questionable out there.
I think that's the correct way to say it. Questionable would maybe be the better way.
That's the better way. So, gone are the days of the Excel, the old method for
Yes.
maybe for the tenants and landlords out there of, asking the right question is your estate agent still using Excel and maybe this big trust account with a lot of money in it? And how is this money allocated? How is the deposits managed besides the trust account environment or in that trust account environment? With PayProp, it's segregated, it's bucketed, managed per property, so that transaction line and audit log is beautifully communicated, and there's no room. If something goes wrong, which in technically speaking it shouldn't,
Yes.
there's always a line to be drawn, and accountability. We are accountable, you're accountable at the end of the day to keep your tenants safe. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think just we'll touch on deposits a bit later, so maybe I'll leave that for to add on later. But the same way, so the tenant has this access to the system that we use. They can see exactly what's going on their property. And with their money, which because the deposit is the tenant's deposit. It does not belong to the agency,
Correct.
It does not belong to the landlord. So both the deposit and the interest belong to the tenant. So the tenant can see what goes on with their money.
Correct.
Then subsequently, the landlord, we've got on the other side, he maybe has one property or maybe he has 5 properties. So, which if he's got more than one property, obviously we call it a portfolio. So how does the landlord see what's going on his portfolio?
Great question. So we're currently working on some exciting technology. Part of the bigger scope is our under umbrella with the Reputable brand, which is a global brand and we're based across the globe. So we have got access to technology going forward. New technology, fantastic technology. And we're currently developing a landlord portal where I'm not going to give away too much, but this will launch soon. We're thinking more or less end of the year, depending on the development. But the landlord will have a beautiful scope and idea of what's going on in his entire portfolio. We're talking statements, we're talking what is in the last 6 months that happened to me on the income, what has happened in the expense side, tax purposes. So very exciting. We had a landlord app, but we're moving away to a more portal-based system, which again, we're all about security, and a portal-based URL side can be, I would say, mitigates the risk better. So very looking much forward to that, and landlords out there, that will be available soon from your wonderful agent, Marlene.
I'm very excited about PayProp and what PayProp offers, and I know we've had the discussion a lot over the years. So I think the fact that PayProp offers this security, this is what's, for me, that's important. So if I'm a landlord, if I'm a tenant, and I think that's why us as an agency, for us, it's important to use the best systems in order for us to create the safety net to the client. And I think to just touch on the security that we offer for, or that you guys offer for the landlord, there's an audit log and transparency. So anything that happens on the admin side, there's an audit log. If anything goes wrong internally on the agent side, the principal, the management can go and view the audit log. But vice versa, the landlord has on his statement, there's transparency. So he can see exactly what's going on with all the money. So the rental income comes in, we make a payment to a contractor, we make a payment for the commission, we make a payment to the municipality for the rates and taxes, and the landlord can see all of those information. So he can see what money comes in. If the tenant pays a credit, that credit goes to the deposit account, which is also held on in trust to receive interest with his deposit. But at the end of the day, the transparency that the client can see, that the landlord can see, is for security reasons. There's nothing that can be hidden under the mat, if we can put it that way. So unfortunately, we've dealt with some, as we said, questionable agencies. And in this sense, the security is there that whatever happens on the system is transparent. Nothing can be hidden. So you can look at your statement, you can ask questions, and your agency should be able to answer these questions in line with your statement with what is happening with the money. So it just makes it more, I believe in transparency, and this is exactly what the system offers. Because we are dealing with different people, we are dealing with, at the end of the day, I think, it's just, you want to know that your money is secured. I don't think there's a better way to put it. I think it's all about security in that essence, and trust.
Yes.
And I think that is what PayProp offers you. And so I think that's why it's close to my heart to say, using an agency that uses systems like PayProp, this creates trust, because you have trust in the brand, and I think that's the most important thing. So how are clients' rental funds managed and safeguarded? I think we've touched on that. We've said that, we keep the money in trust accounts. So just to maybe touch on that in a deeper sense. So the bank accounts that we use to pay out our rental, where we get our rental in, that is managed by PayProp. Maybe you can just give us a sense of that, of the audit process, and what happens further to ensure that everything happens on board.
Great question. And I think this is also a leading question from your previous statement, is the question to ask from a landlord or a tenant. What are you using? How's my funds invested or not invested? That's the wrong word. How's my funds safeguarded? And what type of communication will I get regarding? Now, PayProp being the beautiful system it is, 20 years later, we've ironed out, we would like to believe, all of the things we need to iron out we believe the system is designed for the agency to be robust as possible and mitigate errors and communicate if there's any.
Yes.
Okay? So touching on your point quickly, and I'll get to that, I think it's very important to understand the amount of human intervention needs to be managed very, very well. I say managed. Now, this can be twofold. This can be from the agency side, and this can also be the PropTech side. From the PropTech side, i.e. PayProp, trust me when I say to you, there's a lot of boxes we need to tick on legislation.
I believe that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is absolutely ridiculous, but it's good.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, if I tick all those boxes, I tick them on behalf and for SEEF, i.e. my client, and that will then create the safety net basket for your investments, i.e. your property. Now, in a nutshell, all of the funds, so PayProp acts on behalf of SEEF. The trust is opened, and then the money will start to flow in this environment. Again, I've mentioned in the intro that all of the properties are segregated. So it's not a bucket style where, I haven't received money for number 10 yet. I'm just going to use number 8 quickly here. Physically impossible. Yes, you cannot do this. Correct. If you do this, we will find you in terms of Marley and her team.
Yes.
Speaks to the audit line.
Yes.
Now, that robust system and the transaction flow then pulls over the same on the deposit side. Again, robust per property, interest on an accrual basis, annually calculated. We run exactly in line on transaction side, deposit side with how the Rental Housing Act is set out. Yes. And also what the PPRA instructs us to do. Because at the end of the day, again, I'm going to say this again, PayProp is also a registered estate agency. We're also a TPPP, a third payment processor, and also registered with PASA. So there's a lot of boxes. And the amount of money we manage on behalf of our clients is constantly under the magnifying glass. So again, in a nutshell, I'm trying to condense this as much as I can. For this transaction line to happen and tick all of these boxes, what happened over the course of, let's say, last couple of years, we are in the position to be exempted of trust or to assist with exemption of trust. So what this means for the landlords, I'm trying to explain as the best I can, is that because I can now conduct a secure trust environment and a audit on behalf of my client, this means that everything should be 100% correct and in line before that can even happen. Yes. So the team behind this in a PayProp way, the risk managers, the chartered accountants, the people you see here today, they all work together to get this line 100% correct. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. In layman's terms, so what you're saying is if a payment comes in for number 8, let's say Courtney Street, for instance, then the payment will come in that line, number 8 Courtney Street's payment, which will be allocated actually, which is fabulous on the system. If the client uses, they've got a unique reference number. And if they use that unique reference number, it is already, you just need to go and click the reconcile button. So it already matches the payment, I think that's the correct wording, matches the payment to that property.
Correct.
So making it easy for the agent. And once again, as Johan said, there's if the agent comes and they try and roll the money to another property, it will be picked up. So that's the security, because unfortunately with an agency which works on a normal bank account, normal, take the bank statement, okay, these are the payments that came in, and at the end of the day there's no security in terms of money that can be allocated towards another property. And it sounds ridiculous. It does not sound that, it sounds fictional that people do that. But they do. They actually do. There are agencies, and I'm not here to talk down on agencies. That's not the idea at all. The fact is, we want to protect you, and that's very close to my heart. It's close to our brand's heart, and I know it's close to PayProp's heart. That's why we are doing what we are doing. And the fact is, there are people that rolls the money from one property to another property. So sometimes we get tenants phoning us and telling us, listen, but I've made a payment and we've reconciled all our payments now, so I know exactly which payments have come in and which have not come in. So then usually we would ask the tenant for the proof of payment, because we know by this time, we are 95 to 98% sure that payment did not come in, because we know that if all our payments have been reconciled, there's no way for us to confuse a payment. So it's not like with a normal bank account. And then usually all of the queries that we've had in the past, it would be that something went wrong on the tenant's side. Maybe they pressed the cancel button and not the pay button, or so there was somewhere there was an error. And at the end of the day, so there was a reason why the payment did not come in. So I think it's just in layman's terms to say money can't be rolled over.
100%.
It can't be confused. We know exactly what we get in, what payment is allocated to which property. I know for instance, if I get a payment and the reference is unclear, I don't reconcile that payment. If a tenant then comes and say, but this is my money, when we follow up on arrears, you need to provide me with a proof of payment.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, if I don't have that proof of payment, I cannot positively identify that money as yours. And I would say, so that's maybe the only chance where there can be a bit of a, I would say, error, but we as a brand focus that out by saying proof of payment, and then we can see what is the reference that was used, what is the amount that was paid, and we can then match the payment. So I think PayProp gives us this wonderful support system. I mean, there's no other way to say it. You guys are fabulous. I love you. That is just,
You're going to make me blush on camera.
You see. And the thing is, and I'm proud to say it, I'm proud to say that we liaise with a company like PayProp. You guys give us the safety net, but I also believe that we've got an obligation. So you give us the tools, but we've got an obligation to say, listen, we take it to the next level. We use this tool like we should. And then by using your system, using our internal procedures, we can then come to a point where we can make it effortless for the landlord to receive their payments, and once again, effortless for the tenant to ensure that he gets his deposit and interest back at the end of the day.
100%. And if I can just tie on to that very quickly, and that was a fantastic paragraph, by the way. I think the right questions to ask then for landlords and tenants is, what do you use? I know we're all looking for property. If that property is listed as a tenant, you just jump. But I think it's very important to, from a landlord and tenant's perspective, is what do you use? Because obviously as a landlord, I'm paying you for a service fee, I'm paying you for a commission, I'm paying you for a service. Questions to ask is, how are the funds invested? Are you using a system?
Yes.
What is the system? Are they registered? Are they a TPPP? I'm putting some 3 words out there. Are they, registered with PASA? Because at the end of the day, PayProp, again, I'm going to say this again to reaffirm this with landlords, specifically landlords, maybe tenants as well, is that we are a estate agency. just as much as accountability is there on SIF, there's as much accountability on us. So we can't afford, there's no way we can afford to make a mistake. Because if that mistake comes from us, I mean, it's obviously, that's not going to be good.
No, definitely not.
So that rolls on to my next point in closing on the security side, and not security side necessarily, but how that flow works. Is last questions is also, I mean, if I see the fact that, a credit or a debit note can be removed from a statement, that shouldn't happen.
No.
I understand the case where maybe landlords can see a statement and there's a bit of, what is all this? What's going on here?
Yeah.
That is, the more information for you, the better.
Yes.
And luckily you have wonderful agents that can assist you with that. But deleting of invoices, credit notes, debit notes, all of that paints a picture for you, Mr. Landlord. That picture is the final vault that I want to close on in terms of the security. PayProp, see it as a vault. In that vault, you need the access codes. Each and specific access code from us is generated to the agencies with a unique identifier. So again, rest assured, with PayProp, highly unlikely that anything can go bad with an agency like SIF.
Definitely. And then you mentioned once again, and I just want to reiterate the point, you guys are fully compliant with the PPRA, the Property Practitioners Act, just as we are. And I think that's also important, and prior to this, we just discussed again the importance for a landlord and a tenant to ensure when you deal with a client, if you are registered with the PPRA, you are obliged to put on your marketing material registered with the PPRA and your certificate number at the end of the day. So ensure that your agent is registered, because we get a lot of instances where people are not registered with the PPRA, and at the end of the day, that causes a situation where, tenants become or they come in a situation where now they have issues getting their deposit back.
Yeah.
Where do you go now? You can't complain to the PPRA because the person is not registered with the PPRA.
Correct.
But effectively, that agent is dealing illegally, because our legal compliance says we need to be registered. So I think that is fabulous. As I said, you guys are the safety net. We have touched on the transparency on deposits and interest and all of those things, and I think the only thing that I want to add is, once again, as you said, the payments do not come in a bundle on a trust account. Each property is separately allocated, which means the interest can be seen for your specific property, where if there is a trust account in a normal sense, all the money is in a bundle. Basically, you get an X amount of interest, and now the person needs to go and work out how much interest is allocated to each property. And in the sense of landlords handling properties themselves, they don't have a trust account, but they need to invest a deposit in a savings account, or in an account which earns the same amount of interest as a normal savings account. But that also causes issues, because the landlords don't always know that. So now at the end of the day, we get a lot of inquiries where people phone us and they ask, okay, so how much interest must I pay this tenant now? And I can't tell you, because the answer is it depends on the account that you had the deposit in, because you had to physically safeguard it in an account where it earned interest. So it depends on your specific account. But what I can say, the interest that we earn on PayProp is much more than the normal person on the street would earn, that we earn on a normal savings account. So usually our tenants get a lot of, or let's say they get good interest. I think that's the correct term. So they get good interest. So it's always nice when we get to the end of a lease term and we pay that deposit back, to see that, the tenant has really received some good interest on their monies. And that's one of the reasons why we can't answer questions like these to private landlords, because we cannot, our interest that we earn on the PayProp system, we can't compare that to the normal day-to-day savings account. So
correct.
So I think that is one of the important things. And then, is there any tools for a landlord to track performance on portfolios, the rental market, all of those things? How can they track what their portfolio is worth, or what their property should maybe be rented for, except the word of the agent?
I think we're living in a time, I don't want to use the C word, but since COVID, it's been an absolute interesting status of market. It's just been things we've never seen before. Migration, semigration, all of that. I think we touched on the landlord portal, and that is coming soon. So it is something for landlords that you will have a fantastic view on your entirety of the portfolio or your property managed by your agency. I want to speak to the rental index, and this is something that PayProp offers, and we sit with this data across the country, and we compile this in a beautiful document every quarter. And I highly encourage you to go check it out. As a landlord, your agency maybe will send it to you on, you never know. This is if you are into what is the average arrears rate in my province? What is the increase in rental? That's a big question, Yes. Do we go 8%? Do we go bonkers, 50%? What do we do? So knowledge is key here. So again, this document looks at trends, and it's really interesting as of late, I must say. Cape Town, just to touch on it briefly for landlords out there, in Western Cape, it's just kind of like stabilized a bit. And some provinces have declined massively. Some provinces went from absolutely zero to hero. So I think an agency can give you an idea. Obviously, you've got that local knowledge, and you've just settled in this beautiful town, and maybe can get an indication, but most of the information can also be used alongside the rental index to give an informed decision. So yes, please, Marley, I don't know if you're going to send it out to your landlords, but if you welcome to, you can go check it out on PayProp, and you can just search for rental index and you'll find it. Fantastic tool for landlords.
It's a fantastic tool. So we also like to use it when we get the question to say, what is the increase we should, because yes, most of the lease agreements stipulate a 10% increase as a maximum, but in reality, that is not necessarily market related. So I think it's very important to stay within those lines and to just understand the trends, to understand the market. I think even for you as a landlord, that's what sets you above from the rest. So just understanding your properties, because your properties is an investment. It's a business. It's not just a property. And I think just to see it as such and really to utilize this information, it's really a great tool. I can
it's a good read.
Collaborate that.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so I think the main thing is just we believe in technology. We believe in personal service. We believe that at the end of the day, technology and personal service goes hand in hand at the end of the day. Systems like PayProp make it easy for us to give the best service. And yes, we do have the human factor in there. For instance, I would just like to touch on, you guys have a situation, or not how can I say it? If you load a beneficiary on the system, we've got an administrator. Our administrator loads the beneficiary on the system, but a fantastic tool. That beneficiary needs to be approved by someone else. So a management team member needs to come and they need to approve that beneficiary. And I think that's fabulous. So what we do is we also don't pay out any money without a proof of banking details anymore. Various reasons in terms of security scams out there. So if we ask you for your proof of banking details, the reason is not because we want to be a pain. It is really because we want to ensure that funds goes to the correct accounts, because we deal with scary stories, scary situations. But the main thing is, we believe that the technology helps us. Once again, the technology is set up that someone loads the information, but a third party or not a third party, but a third person needs to come and ensure that is correct. They need to approve it. So once again, it's a deal process. And I think that is for us, most of our things internally, to touch on our internal processes, we believe in a deal process where one person does certain tasks and the other person approves it, to ensure that for the client the information is correct. And we really, I'm very proud to say this, but we don't have issues with payments going out incorrectly. We don't have issues with clients not receiving their payments when it comes in. So even there are we are restricted, unfortunately, by payment runs sometimes.
Yep.
But on a Saturday morning, the only payment run for the weekend is 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and you know we've had this discussion. So at the end of the month, we utilize that payment run. So even if it means we need to stand up at 4 or 5 in the morning to utilize that run to get the money to the landlord, that is our passion. That's important for us. So I think that we believe in technology, we believe in systems, and we believe that we can give you the best service by utilizing the best systems.
I think that is one of the best summaries I've heard, and I think technology can do so much,
Yes,
but you still need that internal procedures in place.
definitely.
And I think where we go, which is where the partnership comes in, is where PayProp's users and permissions speaks to a kind of KPI model for your agents to say, okay, this is what we've set up for the month. This needs what's to happen. Like with any company, you need to tick those boxes.
Yes.
And those boxes tick the security as well. So again, I reiterate this, and I want to reiterate this again. As a landlord, having this asset, this property I've spent R1 million on, don't you want the best protocols in place? I am one of those people that I believe what I'm paid for, and if I pay a price, I believe I'm going to get a service.
Definitely.
So that is one of the important questions: is what is happening, what is in place, and how is it safeguarded? So again, fantastic job. I've seen the internal procedures. It speaks to our model, and just kudos to you and your team and how you manage those funds. And I'll send some coffee for that Saturday morning.
That sounds good. That sounds good. I'm going to hold you to it. Thank you, Johan. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming and joining me. And I'm sure that our clients will really find this information valuable. And at the end of the day, utilize it to ensure that they use an agency, whether it's SEEF, whether it's another agency. Our heart is really to say, if we use another agency, just ensure that they use the correct processes because it safeguards you. And that is our heart. So thank you very much, Johan. We appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.